Good evening. For purpose of awareness, the training session is being recorded.
Want me to sign my name on this? I don't have a monument address. I apologize. Can I still have my 3 minutes? So we just successfully hired our second police services aide that we've been trying to get hired for a long time. With him coming on board and getting trained, we figured it's probably a good time to go through our process on code enforcement. And that's what we're going to do with you here tonight. Commander Lupton is going to come on up and go through a quick PowerPoint, just talking about the steps we go through, how we try to be consistent with it. Maybe why you see some of the delays or what seem like delays. We just want to put it out there so you know, sometimes when you're not seeing stuff getting done, it's still getting done. We just want you to know that we're on it. We've done it a while. We do know what we're doing. Unfortunately, it's a slow process, but John, you want to come on up?
We'll be going over any tactics in Quantico.
He can't talk about that. If you can do the secret handshake, he'll do it for you one-on-one later.
Good evening, Council. I've got your PowerPoint up there in front of you. It should be coming up on the screen for you all to be able to see, more or less talking through what the process has been within code enforcement, what we ended up doing. Kind of give you the background on where we were before and why this together to begin with, is that when we started this, we looked at our own ordinances and realized our ordinance manual had, the town ordinance had no teeth when it came to this. There was no way, I mean, you could tell people they had to comply, but there wasn't any real system that was enforceable.
Hang on a second.
Sure.
I lost the presentation.
So ultimately, when we were able to do the rewrite of the town ordinance, we had taken quite a bit of time looking through what we could get together with our council and what we would be able to put into place. And this is really a just kind of an overview of, let's say you started and you put in a complaint today, like there was a few that came in today. Sir.
Can you put that into presentation? That we're seeing the screen that is managing your slides versus the screen that shows the actual presentation.
Bill's got it for me, so he'll have to put it
Now
up.
I see PowerPoint. First tab on your screen, the first farthest left tab.
There we go.
Refresh.
Can you see that?
Yep, can see that.
So are you seeing it correctly now?
All right.
Next slide.
No, stay on that one.
Tab. See it? See it? Slides.
Okay, so ultimately what we end up doing is a code complaint comes into our police service aides to determine whether or not it actually falls in our jurisdiction. There's some of these that people are not aware of whether or not they're actually within the town of Monument or not. So the first thing we do is check the location, the mapping on where their home is to see if it's within our jurisdiction. Then the next step is we literally send PSAs to the place to see if they've tried to have a face-to-face with people, you know, handle things at the lowest level possible.
Those are assistants.
The police service aides, yes,
Yeah,
sir.
okay, yeah. The interns.
Yes, and they're doing a great job. paid interns is they come out in their cute little yellow shirts and they go and have a conversation with people and they literally make sure that the first step has been done where they're talking with their neighbors to see if they actually talked to the neighbors. So we would tell them that they are not in our jurisdiction, and then we would refer them to El Paso County and to their code enforcement division so that they would know. So within 48 hours of a complaint coming into the database, we automatically respond per our policy that Chief Regan put in place so that everybody hears from us. So it doesn't go nowhere. In fact, if they do it this way through the code, putting it in either through that or calling our dispatch and putting it in at the 390-5555 through dispatch. Either way, we're working on it. But this is the system we want them to use, is to put it in a code enforcement online, put in a request for us to look into, and we respond within 48 hours of that during business hours. They give them, we'll look into it, we'll see where it's at, and then they do get a response one way or the other, whether or not it's ours to handle, whether it's a code enforcement complaint, whether it falls within the ordinances or whether it does not fall into that, and that there isn't anything we can do about some of those things, right? We have to look at it, but we answer everybody on that, where we go on it. Go ahead and go to that next slide for me. When they come in like that, the next step after we've talked to them and said, hey, what's going on? What can we do to fix it? Can we get them to comply with a face-to-face? And I would tell you, better than 75% of the time, if they're home, if they're there, and we leave a card and say, hey, get a hold of us, we need to tell you about something, they take care of it. For the most part, it's one of those, geez, I wonder why my neighbor didn't come over and just tell me they had such a concern with such and such. I'm happy to do it, kind of a thing. And we usually get that taken care of. If they don't do that, we schedule, or when we're talking, we give them a timeline. So when is this going to be fixed by? Verbally, we have a conversation piece about that. We track when they are saying, okay, they say they're going to take care of it by that date. We let them establish a reasonable deadline on it, depending on what it is. Is it shoveling snow off the driveway or off the sidewalk? What are we doing to make sure that's going forward versus I've seen some for dog mess in the neighbor's yard that they don't want to see it from their own neighbor looking out their window, that they don't want the dog mess to be visible to them, trash on the side of their property. So it depends on what the situation is where we turn around and see what we can mitigate to get that together, where we're back and forth. If they don't follow up within that timeline, or they ignore us, this will be the second time we bring them an official written notice, just like this one that's on the screen, that says, this is your time clock starter. This is where we're going to be saying, hey, if you don't have this taken care of by a specific amount of time, you're going to be written a citation. Here's your process, though, for letting us know how to plan, what you're going to end up doing. Put it in writing, hold yourself to it. They get with the PSAs. They say, I don't have the money till the end of the month. I've got to work on something. I'm trying to get that taken care of. As long as they are working towards that completion with us and getting it fixed, we are pretty good about it, as long as it's reasonable. One of the ones I remember, we had a lot of cars parked in a lot of old abandoned vehicles that they were working on fixing up, that they turned around and then they'd turn around and sell them after they got them fixed up. Well, they had too many on the property. So we had to go and talk about, all right, when and how are you going to get them off? And how many are you going to be down to? And we gave them a meter deadline to get rid of the cars. And they met it. It was one of those, okay, as long as you're there, but here's the piece of paper that says, I'm going to check on this date. And if it doesn't happen, the next step is the citation that we're going to be bringing forward, right? Go to the next slide for me. So after a notice of that violation, if it's not corrected in that time, we serve them with a citation based on the ordinance of what their compliance has to be. And under that municipal code, we write that for a first appearance. Now, this is set by the judge by the ordinance. It's $250 for a first violation. Second violation is 500, third supposed to be $1,000. This also gives them an opportunity to appear in court. We don't find anybody guilty of anything as officers or PSAs, police service aides in code. They have the absolute right to go to a judge and let them hear their side of the story. If they disagree with what we're doing, that's exactly what the legal process is for them to be able to come to court and tell us what they think of that. Go ahead and go to the next slide for me. Yep, one back. Okay, so we get our ticket, we write notes on the back about everything that's ended up happening. This has been a learn as we go kind of a problem. Is we write a ticket, we give it to our prosecuting attorney for the town to then bring before the judge, and we explain what's going on. What we found early on is that the judge, they bring the ticket and the judge would say, I'm going to give you 90 days to comply with what that had. And what we had already kind of done this on the backside of this to say, but we've already given this process behind the scenes. So what we've been doing is getting with the judge and letting him know, we frame it now with the prosecutor to be able to give them, here is a very good timeline of how long this has already been sitting, what we've done to try and get this completed, and what we're going to do moving forward so that they can go ahead and have some teeth with finding them guilty if they still haven't complied. Very few tickets have gotten to that level, but that's where we're getting now is we see the problem in our game has been the gap between the time we gave them, the time to get it done, their time for not complying, and then however long the judge gave them on top of that to come into compliance before we wrote them another citation. So our metering behind that is to make extensive notes like that third bullet down and have a pre-discussion with our prosecuting attorney, Andy Osmus. And when we have that, we kind of tell him where it's at, where we really need it to go. The judge is independent. He makes the decisions of whatever he chooses to do. And if he gives them more of a timeline than we're requesting because of whatever they gave as their testimony, we are held to whatever timeline he gives on that before we can move forward on going to the next step of a second violation for that. So what ends up happening, let's say one that's not compliant, they've parked uncoupled semi trucks in their lot. We've told them, and we go to a local gas station and you say, hey, you can't have uncoupled semi trucks parked in your parking lot anymore. This is for overnight moving back and forth, commercial motor vehicles. Don't do it. But who do you write the ticket to? Right? Do you write the ticket to the offices back east that owns the whole thing? Do you write it to the manager at the site? And I'll tell you what we've chosen to do is write it to the manager at the site and let their attorneys come figure that out. But it's the local face is the manager. Well, the manager gets really mad when you write him a citation like, this isn't my company. No, but you're responsible for it. You're the local representative. You're the one who's going to need to stand in front of the judge with your attorney who can come in and say whatever they want to say, right? When they then, whether they comply or not, that's up to the judge on how long they have to get that done, and they get it done. If they don't comply with that, the judge usually at that point says, as long as they have done their job, he's going to go ahead, defer the sentence, and they're in compliance and we're good to go, right? We haven't gotten to this next level yet where, okay, he did that, they fixed it, now the problem's come back, right? And we have the second time, same problem, same violation. Again, we would have to write that ticket, give it to the judge, because we don't put the progressive fine structure on it. A first time violation is this much, a second time violation is this much, a third time is this much. That's the suggestion to the court. The court still chooses where they end up going with that. but it would in our minds be the second time we wrote that citation, and then we'd put it back before the judge again about compliance and making sure that they're going to comply with that. Right? So most of the people are very compliant and graceful and work with us on that. Some people have been more difficult to find and get into the process. It lays out very clearly in the ordinance what we have to do. But just because you can't see the progress and we can't give it to you, it's usually one of these reasons. Now, I can track any single one of these to kind of give you the, here's where it is, and I have what we call a whoop, waiting on other people. And there's a lot of that where you're waiting on other people to be able to make determinations how long they have to comply. And then when we do get compliance, which we have better than a 95% compliance rate. So this is really not a long-term problem in most places because now we've had teeth. And by writing a couple of tickets last year, it has been amazing at the number of people who have, especially businesses, who have started to comply only with a warning letter because they know there's actually a process where there's a fine schedule attached to it. And we have that set in place. So ultimately, that's where we end up with it. What I would encourage you is, as our town council, to be doing is when people bring these things to you, please tell them to go to the code tracker. It's going to be incredibly faster than them going through you to call somebody here, to call me, to call the chief, to put in a tracker that may lose them a couple of days of wondering what in the world they were doing anyway. But simply going online, putting it in writing, even if they're saying, and I want to remain anonymous. Well, it goes into the complaint as who's there, but we try and honor that. If they're putting in an anonymous complaint, we still need a contact information, the email or a phone number, so we can tell them what we're doing on what they were complaining about so that they see that symbiotic relationship going back and forth. So in a nutshell, that's what we're doing with code enforcement, and I'm more than happy to entertain any questions or things that brought up.
You mentioned in the beginning not having any teeth, and then I think you just said now that we have teeth. Do you have in place the ordinances that you need to have sufficient teeth? Because that is one thing that we would need to help you with if not.
Yes, sir. In fact, this council is the one who gave us those teeth in that progressive process of the 250 for a first, 500 for a second, 1,000 for a third.
Is there
Right.
anything else you need from us as far as ordinances go from your experience perspective?
Not so far. In fact, it'll come. In fact, these are those test cases of figuring out how we're going to deliver these, especially like we said, to corporate violators. But overall, so far, the big take has been we needed to get the judge and our prosecuting attorney on the same page to paint a really clear picture of don't give them so much time to comply. They've had more than enough by the time we've gotten a ticket in front of you. It's a, hey, we'd really like you to find them guilty, charge them the first fine of that and give them a deadline and when that has to be in compliance for, because then the second time, if they don't have it and they haven't brought it back to the court that it's been fixed, they're in contempt of court and the judge can do his own separate process on that for contempt of court. Then if it's fixed, we get to the second one where we start this process again.
Do you have a documentation system? I know you talked about it. Do you have one that is sufficient for the judge to show that you're not just, making a fiction, but when you are in court saying, hey, this is how we've handled this, and this is the proof of dates and times of what we've done, so that way he doesn't feel like the person's being unduly pressured?
Absolutely. The PSAs will bring their written timelines of what happens, whether they're keeping it within the code complaint database itself, or once it gets to a point where we're starting to write tickets, we're doing it internally with a Microsoft Planner app where these guys are updating calls and things that are going on in their Excel spreadsheets that also show us where that sits so that they could go back to a timeline. But it's just like any cop. It's good training for them to be able to turn around and have to put all the timeline things on the back of the notes for the ticket to convict the person on what they're putting in front of the judge. And it's an incredibly good experience for our PSAs to have a judge who sometimes finds holes in their game and goes, well, this is what we need you to do. But I'll tell you, our PSAs have been incredibly fast learners when it comes to that process. Mayor.
So I'm not a really big fan of prosecutorial discretion when it comes to these matters. Do the ordinances have a set of timelines that you are allowing the various grace periods? And because you mentioned that some of these go 1 to 3 months. I would be concerned if the ordinance states how long, if it doesn't state how long this timeline can go, because I would like to put additional teeth in the ordinance to eliminate that the judge or the prosecutor has the ability to extend the timelines that exists in the ordinance. If you find certain cases should be able to be dealt with in 3 months, fine. But if there's other items that would appear to be a violation of our ordinances that typically take longer, I'd like to know and have the council review them to see if we want to add teeth and give instructions to our prosecutor who works for us, the council, that you don't get prosecutorial discretion on this. The people will comply, and if they don't, the judge needs to find them guilty and go from there.
Sure.
Can you repeat that?
You wanted, my mic was on.
No, so just a good reminder of the separation of powers. If that's something you want to do, we want to have nothing to do with that. If that's something you want to deal with the prosecutors, that's great. I'm a little leery of putting actual deadlines in the policy because we do have a lot of discretion on, kind of like John said, how long it takes to finish or fix a problem. So if we put in there, it has to be done in 30 days, that's the scope of the problem is much bigger than 30 days. We like to have the discretion, but as far as a prosecutor, that's a council thing.
We'll pick it up at a different shop maybe, and we'll go through the ordinance.
Okay.
Specifically that are being enforced, that we've put the teeth to as
Yeah.
far as the fine structure goes.
Right.
This is a topic for retreat.
So just one thing, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Question. When do the fees start? Is that like when they see the judge or before?
The judge will have to determine whether they're going to have to pay the fee.
Really?
Mhm.
Even the first fee?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like we're all the checks and balances that I can't just go and fine you for something. I have to go through the court body to make that determination. But luckily we do have that fine structure that we didn't have before. So we would have brought it to him before and then talk about discretion. The judge would have to decide. We wanted it to be consistent, reasonable, and like a process we can follow on every every different one.
Thank you.
I have a quick-
Yeah.
When you talked about, okay, that you have an offender, you have a violation, I should say, and it's been rectified, and then it happens again. So the second time, does the clock start ticking over?
Yes. I know. And so if I can say it in no uncertain terms, we get frustrated too. It's just something we have to do. I'll tell you before we wrap up, because we're running out of time. Commander Lupton is a unicorn. It is incredibly hard to find a cop that knows code enforcement because normally the two are completely separate. So the fact that we have someone like him that is running the show is fantastic. The other thing I would say is we do have younger kids that are our PSAs that are running ragged with other jobs. So it's like herding kittens for him, but he somehow manages it, and we're staying on top of things. We document everything we do. We're more than happy to share where we are on any given project. So Councilman Romanello, what you asked, what you can do, please be patient with us. If you have questions, please ask them. Like I said, we can get frustrated too, but we're really just trying to be consistent on how we meter out justice with these. And we do have a good process. We work with Dan and his crew all the time. A lot of the stuff we deal with is planning that we don't have a background in. So I'm not going to go learn the whole planning book. I have a guy that knows it. So great team in place, doing a lot of good work. A lot of this stuff, you're never even going to know it comes and goes. That's the vast majority of stuff. The other stuff we can work through together.
Thank you for
Thank
the
you very
presentation.
much.
We'll just take a few minutes before we start our normal meeting, which will be in 4 minutes.
Mr. Mayor?
We have a little bit more that Dan needs to cover on the subject. That's okay.
Hi, so I just wanted to cover one thing tonight, and It's regarding using this form to report code enforcement activity. I'd ask that you don't do that, because, when you present it to me here, it's public. And that can publicly shame a business that may or may not be guilty of a code enforcement issue. They're happy to say that they'll pass it over to me for the planning stuff because it's complex. There's a lot of issues usually involved. There's a lot of conversations, a lot of people. So very often something will come to my desk as a code enforcement issue, and then we'll go find the documentation or the conversations and discussion and find out, no, it's actually probably a whole bunch of missteps or misinformation or an agreement or two. So if we could just, it is best to your ability, not bring those type of topics up here. Give me the opportunity and with the police department to give us the opportunity to do the research. I promise I'll get back to you and provide
Yes,
that
that makes
information
sense.
to you. But I'd really rather not shame a business owner or the business community, which it ultimately offends. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Council, regular meeting, Monday, February 3rd. Please rise for the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Erickson, will you take roll even though we have these big, beautiful name tags now that you can see who's here and who's not?
See, I'm from Denver, I think. Okay, Councilmember Chronic,
Here.
Councilmember Romanella,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem King,
Here.
Councilmember Abbott,
Here.
Councilmember Fiorito.
Here, I can see you from Virginia.
Oh, thank you. Mayor LaKind,
Here.
Councilmember Kimple.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Cole, any disclosures of conflicts of interest?
Mr. Mayor, I received no conflict disclosures prior to tonight's meeting.
Okay, seeing none, before us, we have an agenda and our consent agenda. Any modifications to the agenda? If not, I'll look for a motion.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Erickson?
Mayor Pro Tem King,
Yes.
Councilmember Kimple,
Yes.
Mayor LaKind,
Yes.
Councilmember Fiorito,
Aye.
Member Abbott,
Yes.
Councilmember Chronic,
Yes.
Councilmember Romanella.
Yes.
Okay, first up, we have some oaths of office. Chief Reagan.
Sorry, I'm going to play back and forth, but first person we're going to swear in tonight is Sergeant William Rios. As you may recall, when I first got here, my goal was to get 24-hour supervisory coverage. And with his promotion, we met that last year. So thank you to you. He's actually a really funny guy. I didn't know that until after someone else is swearing in and we were just bantering out front. And I said, this guy's pretty funny. I think I like him. And he's just been fantastic for us. So we have him out, probably running around like crazy and on midnights and herding kittens, just like John's doing. But I'll swear him in first, and then we'll have our two newest officers as well. All right, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Sergeant William.
Solemnly swear that I will support and bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution and laws of the United States of America, the state of Colorado, and to the ordinances of the town of Monument. I will defend and protect the lives, safety, and property. And I will faithfully and impartially discharge duties of the office of sergeant according to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Congratulations to the other two officers as well. I just want to thank my family first and foremost for all the support. Thank you for always being there. My kids, my wife, everyone. Thank you to all the command staff and everybody else for putting their trust in me. And I'm looking forward to doing great things in this town. So thank you.
So as of last year, we were allowed to move up to 30 officers to make us full. This is 29 and 30. So we're once again full. We did ask for more officers in this year, but only so many trainers and so much time. So we're not looking to hire anyone just yet, but these are the two newest. I'll swear them in and then I'll let them tell you a little bit about themselves.
To the Constitution and laws
Of the United States of America
of the United States of America
and the state of Colorado
and the state of Colorado
and to the ordinances of the town of Monument.
and to the ordinances of the town of Monument.
That I will defend and protect the lives,
Protect the lives,
safety, and property
safety and property
of the people of Monument. That I will faithfully and impartially discharge the office of officer
of the officer
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So
So help me God.
Since you just joined in.
I'm Officer Kelly Robinson, born and raised in Colorado Springs. Lived here my whole life, did 8 years in the Navy. Went retail. Went retail after that. Did a short stint with CSPD, wasn't able to get on with them. I've worked really hard to get here and just really appreciate the command staff, all the people in town of Monument, and the whole department has been just fantastic. So I can't wait to support everybody as they support me. Thank you. Welcome.
Hello, I'm Officer Noel Cordier. I was not at all prepared to say anything at all. But I was not born and raised here. I grew up in Boston. Now I live down in the Springs area here with my girlfriend and her two beautiful kids. And her parents live here in Monument. So I've always visited, always loved the area. Super, super excited to be a part of this community and from the support that I received from, like he said, command staff, everybody here. And I'm just so excited to be a part of this awesome community and grow, and excited to see what else is to come. So, thank you.
Well, yeah. If those of you are departing, we will give you a few minutes to do so before we continue on.
Please come upstairs and for some refreshments upstairs, follow the please up.
You guys want refreshments? Okay. I know.
That's good.
All right, before we get on to the next item, Mayor Pro Tem King has a statement that he would like to make.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion to table ordinance 03-2025 from the agenda. First, I'd like to list the reasons for that. According to the Common Sense Institute, Colorado ranks dead last in housing affordability. In my opinion, this is due in part to the lack of options for entry-level housing. Building a condominium project is a virtual guarantee of construction defect lawsuit being filed on every single project that will be built. This has been going on for decades now, and it's time for the state to remedy this problem, which is a direct result of frivolous lawsuits designed for out-of-state court or for out-of-court settlements. And the result is that construction liability insurers on this product have left the state. This is a disservice for our first-time home buyers, as there is no path to entry-level home ownership. And this will result in a net loss of population as younger families are leaving the state to build the American dream elsewhere. To make matters worse, all land that is currently zoned higher density multifamily is only used for rental apartment construction. Apartment rents are higher than they should be, and it's because of the lack of competition in that space. Condominiums and apartments are direct competitors. Without condominiums, there will never be an incentive to lower rents. In Monument, we have 3 larger apartment complexes already built. One of them does not provide easy to obtain data, but the other 2 have vacancy rates of 20% and 40% respectively, albeit one is a new complex. Clearly, there's not a shortage of apartments, as Denver also has 24,000 vacant units. But there is a very big shortage of affordable for-sale housing, and condominiums are the only real unsubsidized entry point for first-time homebuyers. Because of this issue, there have been no substantial condominiums projects built in 20 years. The zoning is in place, the density is in place, and in Monument, there are already approved locations for over 2,000 units, which some already built. So it's not a land use issue, and municipalities control the land use, yet our comprehensive plan, with input from residents in the development community, clearly states many do not favor the development of additional rental housing. The PUDs that were approved in all straight zone districts should pay attention to the comprehensive plan when planning for new development. These densities were given in good faith to abide by the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan also states the need to support a broader range of housing options and provide a more affordable housing alternative for new homeowners or those transitioning out of single-family detached residence, which includes condominiums. And to date, there aren't any built in the town of Monument. Building a condominium project is not illegal. The lack of condominiums is an insurance problem and should never be interpreted as a zoning or land use problem. We cannot afford to have the town overbuilt with apartments and unintentionally cause future blighted areas within the community. This ordinance is intended to control overdevelopment of rental apartment units and provide entry-level housing to first-time homebuyers, service and municipal workers, or retirees that don't want ongoing rental payments. It is similar to short-term rental regulations in that it regulates rental property. When this proposed ordinance was released to the public, several developers through the Home Builders Association reached out to the town to start a conversation. Points were made on both sides and there was an agreement to work together and come up with a plan to try and fix the affordability issue and discuss alternative ways to minimize rental properties. This was one conversation, but I agreed to ask that we pull this ordinance to see what comes out of future discussions with the anticipation we won't have to revisit this ordinance in the future. We must all work together to find solutions so that we as elected officials don't have to create additional regulations, which may come with unintended consequences in using government authority. But our job as elected officials is to protect the interests of the town and anticipate future issues that may arise from overdevelopment of one product type. That being said, the very first step is to lobby our statewide representatives together and stress the importance of mitigating or eliminating frivolous construction defect lawsuits. Clearly, the HBA and the developer community have much more influence over state policy than we do as a small town. My hope is that we can make a difference. We need to get this right. We owe this to our community, our children, and our future. With that, I make a motion to table indefinitely ordinance 03-2025 from the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to table ordinance 03-2025 indefinitely. Ms. Erickson.
Mayor Pro Tem King,
Yes.
Councilmember Romanella,
Yes.
Councilmember Kimple,
Yes.
Councilmember Abbott,
Yes.
Councilmember Chronic,
Yes.
Mayor LaKind.
Yes, I do want to say thank you to staff and thank you to the development community for already getting the first set of meetings scheduled with a couple members of the council so we can figure these things out.
Councilmember Fiorito.
Yes.
All right, that motion passes 7-0. Next up, resolution 09-2025, resolution for approving a final plat for Woodmore Placer replat B subdivision. Mr. Unglider.
Good evening. I got my microphone working too. So this first case tonight, our resolution is a public hearing for the resolution number 9/2025. The resolution approving the final plat for Woodmore Placer B, replat B. First of all, again, this is a public hearing pursuant to Chapter 18 Land Development Code, which requires a public notice at least 15 days prior to the public hearing for a land use change being mailed out to the owners within 500 feet and posted on the property. The applicant has complied with this notice requirement. We have affidavits on file for both posting and mailing. The applicant, Brett Benke of CSI Development here in Colorado Springs. The property itself is located at 17360 Jackson Creek Parkway, which is the piece of property that's directly north of the YMCA. As I said before, the request is for an approval of a final plat for Woodmore Placer replat B. The slide that's before you now, and it was included in the packet, is our two maps. One is the zoning map for the property, which shows that the zoning designation for this property is planned commercial development within the Regency Park area. It also indicates that the comprehensive plan shows that the long range or future land use for the site is business campus. There is a long history for this area, and I don't need to go over the details, but if there are any questions, I did provide links to those ordinances and on previous actions by the community. The applicant again is Mr. Brett Benke of CSI Development. He's here in the audience. If there are any questions, the replat is to subdivide this individual piece of property into multiple lots and a tract of land for stormwater management. Here's a close-up view of that plat. You'll see that there's an easement area that's running east and west on the property. Jackson Creek is on the right side of the image, and I-25 is on the left side of the image. That easement that's running east and west is, amongst other things, is an access easement to provide access for all those lots to Jackson Creek Parkway. Also in the audience, I see the gentleman here to my left is with the fire district, and one of the purposes of this subdivision is to accommodate a future fire station. If you look at the plat before you, it would be the lot at the south east corner, or this would be the bottom right corner of the image. So as part of their application, in addition to the plat, they provided a stormwater management report, which is on file in our department. I believe I provided you links to that as well in my report. There's also a traffic analysis report that's provided in there to accommodate the future business campus development on this site. Their transportation engineer is also here if there's any questions about the site and access to Jackson Creek Parkway. Is FHU here as well? Oh, that's right. I said hi to you already. So FHU is also here. They're the engineer who is working on the improvements to Jackson Creek Parkway. They are aware of this development. It isn't necessarily specifically designed for it at this point because they weren't sure and we weren't positive that this project was going forward anytime soon. But we're prepared to work with the developer on the necessary improvements for the site. And then also through the public improvement agreement process, make sure that the developer pays their share for those improvements. The plat itself also was reviewed by our consulting engineer and staff to make sure that it conforms with our development code. We did find it to be in conformance with the development code, and have no issues with any portion that's presented tonight. And our requested action is that it's for a motion to approve resolution number 9, 2025, a resolution approving a final plat known as Woodmore Placer Replat B subdivision located at 17360 Jackson Creek Parkway. And there's an outline of supporting documentation that's also included in the resolution. Take a step back. That far. There we go. I think most notably, this case or this request went before the Plan Commission several months back for a sketch plan approval. The Plan Commission did recommend approval of the sketch plan at the time. The developer came back to Plan Commission at their last meeting in January, showing compliance with that sketch plan and meeting the comments and concerns that they made during the sketch plan process. So with that, we have a plat of subdivision that's going to support a mixed use or a commercial development, provide space for public safety or a new fire station. And the commitment from the developer to make sure that we have safe access to this property and that it works well with the new design of our future Jackson Creek Parkway improvements. I turn it over back to you, and if you have any questions of the developer, they are here.
Question for staff. What percentage of the Jackson Creek Parkway is the design at?
It's at 9.
What is this modification going to set that back to?
I don't know that we've had that conversation yet with FHU. So it would depend.
I can address that. Yeah, we just submitted the set of plans. Steve Murray with Ellsberg, Holt, and Littlevig. I'm the project manager for the project. And we have designed it such that we have not precluded this access, but we've also not accommodated it because it's not approved. And so if this were to go forward, then we could accommodate that in the plans. There's no funding for the project, and so we still have time to be able to modify the design.
Well, with the modifications, though, the cost burden falls on who?
Right now, it would be a comment in our plan set, and we would accommodate it. And it would be a part of our project. So at this point, it would be a part of our project burden.
Thank you.
The road impact would be taken care of via the public improvement agreement to modify the road. Make sure proper ingress and egress is taken care of. Is there any concerns about the weight limit of the vehicles that'll be on the road long-term? Because, I mean, they got some really cool big trucks and whatnot.
As far as the fire department
Yeah, I helped
goes.
push one in. They're super heavy.
We certainly during the during the site plan approval process for the fire station, we would take a closer look at all those, how it fits within the traffic impact report and so on. And FHU is available to us for any basic questions, but we're turning to the developer for any of the additional costs that might be necessary for redesign of that portion of the roadway. Any kind of a traffic signal might be required or timing between traffic signals and so on. But those are unknown right now because the only user that we're aware of is the fire station.
So on that note, fire stations typically have like a yellow or red signal sitting out front for when the trucks need to move. So that would go there regardless. Is that correct?
That would be my understanding, but that would be a detail that we would continue working on as we start seeing a specific site plan and layout of the site. So far, all we've seen is a concept, but so we've got quite a bit of work ahead of us in review of the fire station. But I would suspect you're going to have some type of signalization out there to warn passerbys that there's fire trucks coming out.
Okay, so that section would have to go without a median for sure so they can get across. And then there's another second exit into YMCA, and Commissioner Egley brought up on the planning commission the distance spacing, which was somewhere around 300 feet. And that can't have a signal. So would there be, do you have any idea with the road design, would that be a right in, right out only going into the YMCA?
But for the why though.
Yeah, for the YMCA.
We need to come down in front of the mic. Sorry.
So that somebody's not coming out of the YMCA turning left and fire trucks coming out.
Turning right.
Yeah, so there's the YMCA signal, and then there's a right in, right out to the north of the YMCA.
Right, that's what I'm talking about, the
That's
right
one
in,
you're
right
talking-
out.
That would be a right in, right out.
And so when Jackson Creek Parkway is designed fully, there's a median there, so there is no left turn coming
That's
out of there.
correct.
Okay, that's what the question was.
Yes.
Okay, awesome, thanks.
Yeah, and I've seen previous concepts where they showed a mountable median to accommodate the fire station. But again, they didn't design it as part of this plan set because we weren't aware that the project was moving forward.
And the rest of this is business campus,
Yes.
so we can expect retail or something along that line.
Yeah, it's
Commercial.
Brett Benke, CSI Development, zone plan, commercial development, the future land use map does show business campus. And so that's, anything that would be allowed within planned commercial development, retail, office.
So I'm just trying to think what the firefighters' favorite retail establishments are that they're going to want to have there.
Sure.
So Firehouse
Then-
subs.
Our traffic impact analysis does contemplate the kind of the traffic intersection and, you know, all that with the fire station and, you know, initial phase as well as full build out. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
So the consensus is chili and ice cream,
Chili and ice cream.
not together. That would be gross, but yes,
And coffee somewhere in the middle.
maybe. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there's the Ziggy's right there. They can just, they're gonna go to King Supers because like they live there. And so there's Ziggy's Coffee and Forge Coffee. There's Starbucks. There's plenty of coffee. Okay, any other comments or questions for the applicant or staff? If not, then I will bring it back to council for further discussion.
I think it's public.
Oh, we have to open a public hearing item, right? Thank you for that. I will open it up to the public. If there's anybody here from the public that would like to speak for or against this resolution, please come forward.
You want me to, it's Karen Lesby, 1083 Night Blue Circle. I have only looked at this briefly, but I would like to know the relationship between the development and this proposed development and what's going to happen on Jackson Creek Parkway.
Ms. Leslie, can you address us, please?
Oh, I can't. Okay, thank you. But I'd like to know the relationship, which comes first. Is the roadway going to be developed prior to all of this additional development going in? Or because there's no funding right now, correct? Other than for the actual construction of Jackson Creek Parkway.
At this time, there is not a lot, the entire amount is not budgeted for.
There's portions of it that's budgeted, but not for a full build out. And I think in fairness, we would have our partners and that are part of the development, they would be taking care of their portion. So that would offset town's costs to some extent. It's going to be part of the public improvement agreement, much like the other developers along Jackson Creek have done as well.
So they would contribute, but the actual widening would not have occurred, or potentially it could.
I assume that they're going to require some level of construction on the road to deal with their apparatus, right? And your construction equipment is not going to go in off Jackson Creek. It's going to be sort of similar to like Classic has done with the turn lanes built in so that they can gain access to the construction sites. I mean, I know it's in the future, but right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not to that point yet.
Yeah, and I just want to add one thing to that, because I think when I looked at the traffic analysis, you're assuming that the roadway is in place, correct? When you're looking at volumes? I'm asking you, but I'm asking him. Sorry.
This is a question for the applicant, through the road study. So they heard it and we'll give them a chance to come up and speak to it.
Okay, all right. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public that would like to speak for or against the resolution?
If I may. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Happy New Year to you. I haven't seen you in a few months now, but obviously the Monument Fire District supports this resolution. The fire district's been working with CSI now for about 18 to 24 months, identifying this 2-acre parcel, which is directly north of the YMCA on the east side of this development. And really kind of to maybe put some context to it, this fire station would be replacing our existing fire station on Woodmore Drive. That building's about 50 plus years old. It's been through some renovations over the years, but really can't meet the district's future needs. And so originally we tried to conceptualize what it would look like to tear down that property and rebuild the fire station there. We quickly kind of found out that it wasn't worth it. There just wasn't enough room for what we were conceiving. And
Interestingly enough, actually, that fire station's in the wrong location. If you recall, that was a consolidation of the Woodmore Fire Protection District and the Tri-Lakes Fire Protection District many, many years ago. And our Station 1 right here on Highway 105 and the Woodmore Station are actually too close together and don't best serve our community. And so through some thoughtful data analysis, we identified that the Jackson Creek corridor is really where this fire station needs to exist. And that's why we approached CSI. So if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you for your time this evening and just ask that you support the solution.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Any other questions from the public? Will, is there anybody online that would like to speak to this? Okay, then we'll close the public hearing. I'd like to give the applicant a chance to respond to Ms. Lusby's question.
Good evening, Jeff Hodgson, LSC Transportation Consultants. Yes, so in our traffic report, we did assume the 4-lane Jackson Creek Parkway. However, understanding that at the site development plan, if there's a timing question as far as, you know, either the fire station or a portion of the development, that may need to be considered as far as at the site plan stage to run and see what kinds of turn lane improvements interim might be needed on the 2-lane road that's there today. You know, what kind of improvements are needed, you know, in the short term for that, you know, if the timing is such that, because obviously if you're going to have turning traffic into a lot of development, you're probably going to need a temporary turn lane of sorts, you know, left and right turn lanes. And, you know, I suspect there may need to be an emergency traffic signal as well, even if the road hasn't been 4-lane yet. So, but that, to me, that can probably be that's something that will probably need to be addressed at the site development plan stage. So. But even with the 4-lane, we're showing a left turn into the development and a northbound left turn and then a southbound right turn. So conceivably, you know, if the timing is delayed a bit, those same sort of turn lanes might be needed, you know, for the 2-lane road. And it's just a matter of how to, you know, what do you do for the interim? Do you build half a road and try to configure the turn lanes in the interim? But those are details that probably can be looked at with the site plans.
Thank you. All right, with the public comment closed and the questions answered, I'll bring it back to the council for further discussion. Motion.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution 09-225, a resolution approving the final plat for Woodmore Place to replat B subdivision.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Ms. Erickson.
Councilmember Fiorito,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem King,
Yes.
Councilmember Kimple,
Yes.
Councilmember Romanello,
Yes.
Councilmember Abbott,
Yes.
Mayor LaKind,
Yes.
Councilmember Chronic.
Yes.
All right, that motion passes 7-0. You know, we got more steps, but I think it's pretty cool that we're going to have a fire station in Monument on the east side. Very cool. Looking forward to pushing in more giant apparatus that you get your hands on. Is it coming up? All right.
And I'm looking forward to giving you updates on this because there's quite a few steps to go through it, and I'll keep you up to date as best I can.
Okay. Great. Next up, public hearing resolution 10/20/25, resolution approving the final plat for Falcon Commerce Center park and signage. Final plat. Oh, Mr. Ungelleider.
Hi. And Andrew Barlow is here representing the developers for this site as well. This is not a complicated case. First of all, I want to just note that this is a public hearing. Notice has been provided and the affidavits for notice to neighbors and that the sign that there was a sign posted on the property is on file in the planning department. Everyone here is familiar with the Falcon Commerce Center. This is not part of the development. This is the little pieces left that were associated with negotiations and discussions with that site and identifying the property. So the applicant is Tom Blunk from representing Forest Lake LLC in Evanston, Illinois. The property is located at Terrazzo Drive and Squadron Drive. Is platted in Falcon Commerce Center, filing number 2 and filing number 1. And they're seeking approval of the final plat known as Falcon Commerce Center Park and Sign or signage. Let's zoom in a little closer just to show the property. Just north of that large blue triangle is are the 2 warehouse buildings that were approved recently. This is a park site with some amenities located to the southeast of that property, and then the smaller blue square is a tract where the sign is located, identifying the overall property. There's no traffic study. There's no stormwater study, and these are remnants, and they're seeking final plat approval of these 2 remnants, subject to the conditions of their previous approval. Once again, the plat of subdivision or final plat has been reviewed by staff and its consulting engineer and found to be in compliance with the code. And we are requesting a motion to approve resolution number 10, 2025. It's attachment number 3 in your packet, a resolution approving the final plat known as Falcon Commerce Center Park and Signage final plat. If you have anything to add to that at this time, I think that's it. Any questions?
Yes. For the signage track, which is 0.034 acres, I assume it's a signage track because there'll be a sign.
There is a sign.
There's a sign there.
Sign is, oh, that's the one that actually has the monument logo in it already?
Right.
That's correct. It just wasn't plat. It didn't receive a final plat yet, so they're taking care of this in one shot.
Oh,
So this is a super minor point also. But because of where that location is, I assume that at some point there's going to be some type of an easement to get to that sign.
There is an easement.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I was going to ask how big the sign was going to be, but I'm glad the sign's already there.
On the, if you could refresh my memory on the park track, was there parking involved?
No,
There's no parking.
there's not. There's landscaping. There might be a bench along the front end or along the street. But it's open space. It's open space.
Place
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Place to eat lunch or something for the workers or something like that?
There's actually a detailed plan in my presentation, but there is like a sales structure and then a wall that functions as a bench as well. And then the main area is just native seed.
Okay.
And I just want to add that the main reason for this plat is so that the ownership of these can transfer to the Metropolitan District.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, public hearing item. I'll open this up to the public. If there are any members of our public that would like to speak for or against this resolution, please come forward. Will, is there anybody online?
No, Mayor.
Okay, then we will close the public hearing item, bring it back to the council for further discussion or motion.
I make a motion to approve resolution number 10, 2025, a resolution approving a final plat for Falcon Commerce Center Park and signage final plat.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Erickson?
Councilmember Kimball,
Yes.
Mayor LaKind,
Yes.
Councilmember Fiorito,
Yes.
Councilmember Abbott,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem King,
Yes.
Councilmember Romanello,
Yes.
Councilmember Chronic.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Resolution 11, 2025, resolution authorizing an agreement for auditing services for the town of Monument with DMC Auditing and Consulting. Ms. Phillips or Steve?
Hello, Mr. Mayor. I'll be taking this for Ms. Phillips. So good evening, Mayor and council members. So I'm bringing to you the RFP process. As you're aware, we need a new auditor every 3 years. We had 5 proposals this year. And then with the help of 2 council members and 3 staff members, we were able to evaluate all proposals. And we came down to DMC Auditing and Consulting. So after the evaluation, we reached out for a meeting with DMC to just kind of get a feel for the company and let them have a feel for us, kind of see face. And we would like to move forward with DMC Auditing and Consulting. So with our recommendation, we would like the town monument to move forward with Resolution 11, 2025 to have DMC Auditing and Consulting LLC as the auditing firm for the 2024 financials with the town's sole discretion to extend for 2 one-year terms.
Simple enough. Just doing what the charter calls out to do.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any comments or questions from council to finance department? So who are those that sat in on the?
It was Laura and I, and we're very happy that this worked out because this was the right choice, and I'm glad that the conversation went well. So good show.
And what is our annual expenditure for this?
I believe off the top of my head is 16,800 for the first year.
And then it goes up from there
Correct.
based on what criteria?
Based on the contracted amounts that they proposed to us.
So it's not a percentage of anything,
That's correct.
Or not to exceed amounts.
not to exceed amounts. Oh, I wonder who put in not to exceed. Okay, then if there's no other questions or comments, then I will look for a motion.
I make a motion to approve resolution number 11, 2025, a resolution authorizing an agreement for auditing services for the town of Monument with DMC Auditing and Consulting LLC for the 2024 fiscal year audit with town's sole discretion to extend auditing services for an additional 2 one-year periods, 2025 and 2026.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Erickson?
Mayor Pro Tem King,
Yes.
Councilmember Romanella,
Yes.
Councilmember Kimpel,
Yes.
Councilmember Abbott,
Yes.
Councilmember Chronic,
Yes.
Mayor LaKine,
Yes.
Councilmember Fiorito.
Yes.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Steve. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you to the rest of the finance department and those from the council and staff who participated. Final resolution for the night is 2025 resolution approving an IGA between CDOT and the town of Monument for Highway 105 and northbound off-ramp I-25. Mr. Tharnish.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Resolution you have in front of you tonight has been looked at and reviewed many times since its very first revision. And what we're trying to do in a nutshell is get CDOT in a position to issue a permit so that the contractor, the developer can start the improvements in the Jackson Creek 105 intersection as far as the stormwater landscaping and lighting. And in order to do that, they need to get the permit from CDOT. In order for CDOT to issue the permit, we have to have an IGA between the town and CDOT. And as in the background paper I listed, there were a few minor issues early on that we've come to agreement on. And then also Mr. Cole's staff has reviewed it and has a lot of edits or well, I guess I would call them minor, but I'll let him describe that. As soon as I'm done here, I'm going to turn this over to him to speak to what kind of changes. And then we were going to hope to present this for approval pending the changes that Mr. Cole's staff would have to finalize with CDOT. Is there any questions on, majority of this relates to the stormwater infrastructure that needs to go in. And part of the package on Exhibit C, there is an actual map, a sketch, well, I guess it's more of a map, that delineates the areas of responsibility for all this work that's going to be done. The developer is doing all this work. The town, once it's done and the warranty periods are up, then the town will take responsibility for everything that's highlighted in orange or green on that Exhibit C that you should have in your packet.
So one of those inlets that shows the town of Monuments responsibility is on property that's not in the town, the Mountain States property.
Yes, and that's what I addressed in the background paper. I think it's identified on the sketches, section 8A. And what that is a drainage off a parking lot that currently goes to a ditch type arrangement. When CDOT puts in or when this is constructed, that culvert will tie into the new lane, new culvert that'll be underneath the road. And the thinking along that line is that property just happens to be one of the few that's surrounded by the town. And talking to the planning director, we do have ideas that we're going to come back at some point and do an inclusion to get that property in the town. And being that culvert would be new, tied into there, staff, we believe we're not going to have any issues with maintaining it throughout that period when the warranty's up before it becomes ours eventually because of the proposed inclusion at a later date. So we've reviewed that and gone back and forth. We have no concerns about that. It's a minor compared to the majority of the topic of the project here. Flows out of that we expect will be on the minor side, lighter side.
So I did read that where you had talked about, so you think that's pretty likely to annex that into the town?
Yes, after talking to planning director, it made sense for us to do that as we're trying to clean up all these orphan parcels or parcels that are on the periphery of our borders that for some reason never got included into the town boundary. I never remember last year we did several of them. There'll be more to come as we look at our mapping and see why is that one area there basically in the town when it's not. So that'll come forward on a different resolution as we move forward.
Okay, so in the future, because this concerns me a bit just because of where all this drains into. So we've got drainage off of 105, we got drainage off of the northern part of Monument Junction and from the parking lot from the Mountain States property. And then it goes ultimately into a pond that's mouse habitat, and there's talk in this contract of Clean Water Act and things like that that just scare me a little bit, quite frankly. So how does that all work if we take that over?
Well, these are areas that this is where the water is currently draining,
right?
Whether the improvements are made or not. But because this is the town's project, the improvements that need to be made, if you look at the drawing, there are several locations. Our area of responsibility to help maintain that is well within our means, both the equipment wise and staff wise. If you look at this, in the end, it ends up going underneath the off ramp for I-25. And then once it gets under there, then it's not ours anymore. It's state waters, it's drainage to that. It's really the beginning of Dirty Woman Creek. That's what it is.
Right.
That culvert was an issue in the beginning because there was a designated water quality pond that was to be built. And that's where we pushed back a little bit and said, we don't want to take care of a water quality pond. And work was done to shape that area so that that pond was no longer needed. Now it's just a drainage and catches like a typical stormwater would with an entrance and an exit and riprap along various areas to maintain that.
So we don't have to maintain any water quality ponds then?
Not in this project. We originally had that one right on the corner of the off-ramp, but that has since been changed and CDOT has shaped that to the point where it's not required.
Okay, so they're going to maintain that, or there just isn't any?
No, it's in that green area on Exhibit C. And then the beginning of that in the structure, we would maintain it. But again, it's no different than us maintaining a stormwater channel at other locations. It's really, once it's seeded and the riprap takes place, it's just a matter of checking it after a heavy rainstorm or debris storm. And, we do this with almost all of our stormwater infrastructure. So it's not, we're not expecting a major maintenance issue with that.
Sure, it's the ones that are unexpected. That is what I'm
Well, yes, if you have a
concerned with.
biblical 1,000-year flood, I guess we'll have bigger problems than this, but.
Or
Yeah.
some kind of spill on 105. What would that do to us liability wise as a town?
Well, normally if you have an incident like that, it gets reported to the state, you get a case number. You affect repairs. If you don't have the ability to do that, then you contract out with third parties, which has happened to us in the past. The Conoco station, we had a, what do you call it, radiator fluid leak out of a semi and got into our storm drain system. And we just had to know where those lines run and get hazmat material in place. And then the county came in with their hazmat team to clean it up, and they ended up billing the trucking company for all that work. So that's typically how we respond and mitigate as best we can. If we have the means to do it ourselves, we will. If not, then we have contacts that do that for a living. So.
Okay. Thank you.
I've got one question, and a statement. How much water from the impervious areas of the newly improved 105, which is owned by the county, would be, I know they put in their detention basin on the north side of 105, but water doesn't travel there from south to north. So how much water is going to be coming from, the top of the hill there, east of Knollwood, and are they contributing anything to this? I mean, it's their road all the way through. Right now, it's their road all the way through to that drainage.
Are you talking to county?
Yeah.
County is not contributing, that I'm aware of, anything to these improvements that we're trying to do here. We've been back and forth with them, going back a few years, sat down on meetings with Mike and the county administrator at the time. And they were given some money to do with the project, but I don't remember the specifics of, was that designated to go to the stormwater portion or to the actual roadway?
Who was given money?
Yeah, the county was at one time. I think they've taken that back since then.
Well, maybe they should put it back.
Well, that would be nice. but
There's an impact. There's a long-term impact that this new 4 to 6 lane road is going to cause from a drainage perspective. Some of the water is going to go to the north and some of the water is going to go to the south. So
The money that was going to be required that we maintain that traffic signal. And it was long-term, that's not a good arrangement for us because of the way that the different jurisdictions, there'd be 3 jurisdictions that maintain those traffic signals.
Right, but I'm concerned more about the health of the drainage components that are going to be installed and those that would be long-term maintenance. And I guess that leads me to the fiscal impact statement in this memo. It indicates that the developer is going to be responsible for the cost of the installation, which I understand and certainly appreciate. But the way it's worded, it says we're not currently expecting any costs until the warranty period. We shouldn't be expecting any costs until the warranty period. I don't like the idea that this is left ambiguous, that it's possible that the town could be burdened with this project. Now, I know the memo is just a memo, but it leaves open an interpretation that it's possible that we could be asked to financially contribute to this. And I want to make sure that the language in the IGA and the resolution don't, because there's going to be some more work on which part, Mr. Cole, or is there more work that needs to be done?
So we had some comments and revisions throughout the agreement, mostly non-substantive. Well, not mostly, all non-substantive. So they don't affect the warranty provisions. I'm trying to pull those up right now. But our comments did not go to the warranty provisions.
I just want to make sure there's no cost to the town.
None that I'm aware of. That's the way this was, because I kind of, this is back when Jeremiah was still here and started the process.
To be removed, right?
Right. That's been changed on one version. We just don't have the version that Bob has. So, but that's again, minor change.
Right.
But overall, my understanding is everything is built at the developer's cost. And then CDOT, the way the permit is written, it describes the areas of responsibility and what we're covering, what CDOT's responsible for once this is complete and in operation.
Do we know what the long-term financial impact is after the warranty period?
We haven't run a calculation on that, but given the amount of stormwater infrastructure that we currently maintain, and we have a stormwater budget of about 100,000 a year, we never really spend much of that other than maintenance of detention ponds that we're responsible for, or if we have to replace an inlet structure, things like that. But most of these that go on the ground, they have a pretty long life. Unless something went terribly wrong, we're not expecting anything out of the ordinary that we're not already maintaining.
Well, out of the ordinary seems to happen here. The representation from Classic is here. I don't know if they know what their cost burden is going to be to implement this area. And I know costs would go up over years of time if this were to fail, but if after the warranty period it fails and we're responsible for it, I'd like to know what they're spending to implement this area, if they know. If they don't know, maybe they can get back to us.
Steve Slasher, Classic Homes. We'd need to break out that exact length of stormwater. And as you look at your exhibit there too, the responsibility is broken in between CDOT and the town of Monument. And a lot of what is there today to answer that is you have a lot of those historical flows coming off. The majority of those flows, as you look at the drainage reports that Mark Wharton from CCS has done analysis, because that was important for CDOT to analyze exactly where all that water has come from to put together the responsibility. So a lot of what's there today, the town is responsible for and it conveys, right? So from Lumen Central Office or Mountain States there, that water is already discharging into the town right away, underneath the town culvert and into the town ditch, and then down to that pond at the off ramp there and into the habitat down below and Dirty Woman channel. So a lot of that's being conveyed today. It's just, this is new infrastructure to take it in as your turn lanes, the T of the project with all three jurisdictions are there going in. So the cost to maintain typically RCP and what's underneath ground and some inlets, that section there, I can't give you an exact number to maintain it because that's typically maybe a cameraing, something like that, a washout over time. And then that's all bonded through CDOT and then through the town of Monument as well. So as I go through Tom's warranty period, the 2 years of warranty period, then we'd come in and take care of anything. And it has the oversight as you look at the right-of-way sections too, with CDOT, town of Monument, and El Paso County. All three jurisdictions meet there at that intersection. That's the complexity of this project, because everybody has a responsibility in that intersection, right? So they all meet there. So the oversight from the plan side went through all three jurisdictions as well. So as we construct the portion in the CDOT, they have oversight to their specifications to construct it to theirs. Town, Jacobs has reviewed. The town will come out, they have oversight through the process of constructing it and through that area. So far as maintaining where Tom's at, really, you're talking about any other stormwater in town where you'd wash out the pipe, maybe camera it if you have anything. And the way I understand too, from the roadway, when you're picking up the responsibility till it enters, Mr. King. So if there was a spill on that roadway, that would be CDOT's responsibility. Don't quote me on that, but not until it enters this section does it become the town's responsibility. So it started with the CDOT responsibility in that section of roadway.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for answering that.
And part of it too, with the IGA, just working through this process for over a year and a half with the IGA, it started with the plans that were submitted to CDOT for that new portion. They just wanted, because prior to, with everything that has been those channels, just over time, there's never been an understanding between all jurisdictions who's responsible for what. So as that bar ditch was there, the culvert was discharging underneath Jackson Creek Parkway, all the way down into those waters. So that's where Jason Nelson put it together, saying, well, at this point, it's all new. So we need to have an agreement with all parties who's responsible for what.
To get the work going. Good.
Yeah, it's a 90-day process, possibly to release the access permit, notice proceed. And where we're at the point of construction, what you see off to the east side there, that major fiber lowering is halfway through. 8,000 yards of dirt have been removed, the overburden. The 40 ducts, half of those have been lowered. We got a little fight on our hands. We would like to done this when the ground wasn't frozen, but we are where we are today, right? So with that, half of that's done. Once that is complete, hopefully by the end of February, the retaining wall can go in. The county has already, they are close to, they're at substantial completion. They still have a section to install with their inlet and their storm for us to connect to, because they were not able to do that once they're finishing their project, because the IGA does those things. Storm works downhill up, right? So that collection area that Mr. Tom referred to as a pond before, that collection area, all that RCP needs to flow uphill for that grade from the county inlet to make all these connections come together. So once IG is in place, we have 90 days through the access period, notice proceed, and then that unlocks where we can finish everything, because the storm section stops the construction of that intersection.
Well, as I think we need to get this work done, and this IGA's, it needs to happen to get the work done. I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution 12, 2025.
Hang on a
Oh,
minute, man.
okay.
We're still talking. Were you finished?
Yeah, unless you have any further questions.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions or comments for staff? Okay, now we can bring it back to the council for any further top conversation.
You got a public.
No, it's a resolution.
Oh, resolution.
Yeah, that's why.
Yep, okay.
Mr. Mayor. If you choose to go forward with it, I appreciate your motion, approve the ordinance as substantially presented.
Of minor points, non-substantive.
Resolution on order.
Yes.
Okay. You got that?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 12, 2025, a resolution approving an IGA between CDOT and the town of Monument for Highway 105 and northbound off-ramp off I-125 and I-25, and with non-substantive changes by staff.
Second.
We now have a second. Whenever you're ready, Miss Erickson.
Councilmember Chronic,
Yes.
Councilmember Romanella,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem King,
Yes.
Councilmember Abbott,
Yes.
Councilmember Fiorito,
Yes.
Mayor LaKind,
Yes.
Councilmember Kimball.
Yes.
The resolution passes 7-0. We will now move on to public comments for items that are not on the agenda. Individuals attending in person may raise their hand to indicate their desire to comment. Individuals attending via Teams may raise their hand digitally to comment via connected devices. Please lower your hand when finished with your comments. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. We have a new 3-minute clock on the wall here on the dais. If you go over, our new lectern will electrocute you, give you a little zap. No? No? Right? Okay.
The eject button.
Is there anybody who's willing to take their chances for public comment?
Well, we have a taker.
We have a taker.
Try the electric shock.
Yeah.
Especially me, because I can talk and talk and talk. So thank you for the opportunity to do so to the council and mayor as well. And with the 3-minute time, I want to just be able to share with you that I am Jason DeBueno. I'm the president and CEO of Silver Key Senior Services, and we do have an office here in this community. One of the things that I want to share with you is that in the news, both on television and in the newspapers, you may have seen an update about what's happened with Silver Key being impacted by District 38's decision to demolish the Grace Best Elementary School. For those of you who don't know, we've been part of District 38 for going on 12 years now. And prior to that, Silver Key was involved with the district almost 50 years ago. That was a hub in place for us to be able to distribute food out of the gymnasium of D38 in the main area. And then since then, the school district has hosted the Silver Key Activity Center for the last couple of years at Grace Best. And prior to that was Silver Alliance, the Tri-Lakes Silver Alliance. And that particular program partnered with the high school, and they had a modular program on the campus of the high school. So this has been a longstanding program here in the community. When we learned that the Grace Best Elementary was going to be demolished, that is where the place that they house our program for both the food, the transportation, the activity center that we provide to about 700 individuals are registered in this Tri-Lakes community. The majority are from Monument. So with that, I wanted to just stress something to the council. Thank you, thank you, thank you for the past support and the continued support. I hope you will continue to do so. I commit to you, and I promise you, we will do what we can to be able to find the next place and space that's going to be able to house us, at least temporarily, until we get to a larger plan where we are going to own our future. Meaning that going to be a tenant, while it's a wonderful thing for a lot of reasons, for a lot of ways to get to the point of where we're at, our future is to own a building where we can grow with the community, the town, and make sure that we serve the older adult community in the way that makes sense. Mayor, I want to thank you for coming to visit the Silver Key campus. I make that invitation available to all of you. If you come to see our campus, one of the things that you're going to recognize is that it is not just about older adults. It is actually a community center of sorts, meaning that we've got so many different partners and agencies that are part of this campus. We have solutions from the little ones, the little itty bitty cradle ones, all the way, unfortunately, to the grave. As I was sharing with Mayor, that one of the things we do is we handle older adult care, and oftentimes that means people who pass away. The good news about something like Silver Key is that we stay ahead of the game, yikes, to be able to make sure that people are independent for as long as possible. And in doing so, people die with quality and independence of life. And your support allows us to do that here. And I will tell you, we're committed to that, and we will give updates in the future about next steps. Thank you.
I want to highly recommend that you take Jason up on his opportunity to see the campus. There is an amazing brand new apartment complex that is for veterans, that gives them the ability for independent living, especially those that need the assistance. The food distribution and serving of food there is no short of, it's industrial in nature. They have a whole section for DME equipment where they sterilize it and reissue it to people who are in need. I mean, I could go on and on. It is an amazing, and it's not, this isn't corporate America. It's not the best furniture. It's not the best lighting. The building is sort of old and repurposed, but they make, they make really good use of what they have. And their transportation division, that they have there. It is the focus of the entire region and other charitable organizations that they manage for everybody. It's like a dispatch center for transportation for people who need it. So it's really cool. Take them up on the opportunity. It's almost in Fountain, for crying out loud. It's way out there, but very, very cool. And I know you have my support going forward and looking forward to figuring out what's going to be next for Silver Key and Monument. We don't want to lose you.
Thank you. And thanks to all of you for your support. Appreciate it.
Is there anybody else that would like to make public comment online or in person? Nobody online? Okay. Then we will go to Ms. Vanden Hoek's favorite topic, future agenda items.
Other than an email that I sent to you this afternoon, where a community member was inviting you to an open house this Saturday, I do not have any future agenda items for you this time.
Okay, hang on a
Correct,
second. She
yes.
just said she has no future agenda items. Please make sure that is on the record.
Yes, make sure.
Let me just check with staff.
I'm sorry. I don't think the voice is coming through. Did she say there's no? She has no. I want to make sure because it may be coming in broken.
Yep.
Probably because you're in Virginia and it's taking a while for it to get there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's it.
All right, very good.
What's the location of the Saturday open house?
It's at the Grace Best facility, which I believe the address is 55 Adams Street. They would like you to RSVP so they can make sure it's kind of a tight space. So they want to make sure they can accommodate a tour.
I need to bring a mask.
It is very cool.
It is.
You do not need to bring a mask. No, but yes, it is very cool.
It is very cool.
I already respond super played.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, council comments. Any members of our council that have any comments that they would like to make? Okay,
Wait, I have a quick question. What are they gonna do with the old Woodmore building, the fire building?
you should have asked while they were
I
here.
was going to, but then everyone's like in a rush and cut me
Well,
off.
they're going to be doing a push-in. You can help me push in one of their giant apparatus. You can ask them then.
Don't go. Don't
No,
do
no,
it.
you should. They barbecue. They've got good coffee. Some of us have been, and everybody gets to help put the giant fire truck into the fire station. I mean, it's in gear. So
You know,
right.
Sonic's gonna be a future Silver's Key building.
There you go. It might be.
you never know. It's not in Monument though.
That's close.
Yeah, I guess that's something to talk about. What's that big fire station going to do? Okay, if there are no other comments, are you anticipating, Mr. Cole or Madeline, that there would be any decision-making after the executive session? If not, we will adjourn from executive session.
I wouldn't anticipate any.
Yeah, I think we will just adjourn from executive session. All right, will you work with Marco to get him a Teams link for the executive session, please? Executive session pursuant to 24-6-4024B CRS for a conference with the assistant town attorney. The assistant town attorney? All right, the town attorney with the town's water attorney to receive legal advice on specific legal questions regarding water supply and pursuant to 24-6-4024E CRS to determine positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiation, developing strategy for negotiations and instructing negotiators regarding proposed agreements with the Loop Water Authority and the Northern Delivery System. I guess I'm making a motion. That is a motion.
I'll second.
So we have a second. Ms. Erickson.
Councilmember Abbott,
Yes.
Councilmember Romanella,
Yes.
Councilmember Kimple,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem King,
Yes.
Councilmember Crona,
Yes.
Mayor LaKine,
Yes.
Councilmember Fiorito.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.